Welcome to the Science and Education segment here on Impact. I'm Barbara Brabetz. Today we're going to focus on education and the journeys that some people take on their own education and the journeys they offer other people through their education. My guest today is Dr. Mildred Smith-Chang. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Barbara. I'm glad to be here. I'm not too well, but I'm glad to be here.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yes.
That's two of us not too well, but we can get through this.
Yes, we can.
Mildred, you do not come from these parts. So usually when we talk about impact, we talk about the local connection to global issues. Your local connection is now rather than where you started from. Where did you hail from? Where do you come from?
I'm originally from Jamaica, Mandeville, Manchester, in the center of the island. Yes.
So it's been a wonderful journey, I'm sure, in your life to go from Jamaica to an education in Jamaica to come to the States. You went to college here in the States?
Yes, I went to the University at Albany and I did my doctoral degree there. But before I did two master's degrees, Spanish and political science, because when I came here, I was a Spanish teacher, the head of a Spanish department at a high school in Jamaica. So Spanish was not challenging, so I double majored in political science and Spanish, and I did that in 3 years, and I went on to do my doctorate in Spanish and education.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
So education has been a big part of your life, both in your own personal education and then what you do for others on a daily basis. Where do you teach now?
I teach at Central Park International Magnet School at Elm Street in Schenectady, New York. I am the senior Spanish teacher in the district, or one of them, because I taught at Mount Pleasant for 8 years. Then I was transferred to Central Park, and now I think I'll have some classes in the high school.
Oh boy,
yes.
Busy. So in the magnet school that you work in, it's a special population. Could you talk about what that population is?
Yes, it's a mixture of students, but the special population are mostly immigrant children from Afghanistan, Africa, Jamaica, lots of Hispanic population there, and I find them it's a great place to work with a multi-ethnic group, different cultures, the joys and tensions of distinct cultures. So what I find with them is that most of them are fleeing, some of them are fleeing wars and conflicts, so they're traumatized. And some of them have left their homes and they get to America at the teenage years when they get to America. So their education is not as up to standard as the education here. There are gaps in their learning. So they find the new learning situation frustrating, and they might stand in the hallway and eventually don't see the relevance of the curriculum, because it's so different. When you talk to them, there's a lot of cultural modes. For instance, some of the principals and teachers, they're not ready to educate the children. They don't understand them, because a child from Afghanistan would not look at you when you're speaking to that child. They'll put their head down, and you might be saying, look at me, put your head up. But that's disrespectful for that child to look you in your eye. So we miss out a lot of things. But when I get time and they're in class, we do all that. We do projects from the different countries. We have International Night, which I coordinated and instigated at the different schools. We have Spanish Night, and we have Black History Night. But the children have to do research in different countries, and then we hang their posters in the hallways so that they understand each other, the music, because most of them can be bullied. We have never looked at how these immigrants are bullied, but they don't talk about it because their parents are going through so much hardships that they don't want to let anybody know that they're bullying me, you know, in the class. They're laughing at me. They're ridiculing my accent. There's a lot of things that goes on subtly with them. So they cling to each other. Like, for instance, the Guyanese children, there are a lot of them here. People don't understand who the Guyanese children are, in my perception. I remember there was, after the Iran invasion, a lot of these children were picked on, and most people thought that they were from the Middle East, or they were from Iran, not knowing they're Caribbean children.
That's so not, you know, they're not East Asian or West Asian, not even close.
Right. So this is the misperception of these immigrant children in the classroom.
Well, you know what it's like to immigrate to the United States, but let's take a step backward in time to your early education. We were talking earlier about the fact that you picked Spanish as a foreign language when you were a youngster. So how did you get to that choice?
That's a good question. In Jamaica, you don't just walk into a high school. You earn a high school. So when you're between the ages of 12 through 13, you sit what is known as a common entrance exam. If you don't pass that common entrance exam, you cannot go to a high school. Mm-hmm. That common entrance exam allows you to enter any high school you want. So normally children who pass it, you're from 11, you're in high school from 11 there. You start high school very early there.
Yes. So
you get into high school at 11 and you get out by 16, 17. So when you're in a high school, you're like the elite of that crowd. The ones who are left back in the primary school, they go on to welding, or they keep taking the exam until they pass it. If they don't, then they remain in the primary school until they're 15, and they're doing welding and seamstress and plumbing and, you know, vocational work. But I went into high school at 12 plus, and I was drawn to my teachers. They motivated me a lot. I think teachers have a lot to do with how children perform.
I agree. Yes. Yeah.
So my teachers were great. I had Mr. Melbourne, Carl Melbourne, very tall black man, and he was so great in Spanish. And I used to wonder how Mr. Melbourne is so fluent. Can it be one day I'll be like him? So I really wanted to be like Carl Melbourne. And what he did, once he saw that you were very good at what you were doing, he would get books for you to read in Spanish.
Wow.
And he would get dictionaries, Spanish dictionaries. And what he did most was that he took us on a journey, psychological journey, into different parts of the Spanish world, into where El Cid was born, and Cervantes, Don Quixote de la Mancha, those books we were reading from when we were in high school, 11, 12.
That's amazing. That's college level material.
Yes, we were reading all those books. So we were exposed to Granada and the Moors and the Alhambra and the architecture and Malaga and Barcelona and all over Mexico, the bullfight, the Aztecs, where they play El Estadio Azteca, where they play the World Cup football. We were exposed to Popocatépetl, those mountains in Mexico, La Mujer Dormida, all those beautiful places in Mexico. We journeyed there. So when I got older, I wanted to go to Mexico. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go to Spain also, but eventually I went to Mexico and studied there for 2 years in Instituto Mexicano in Insurgentes Sur, near the Zona Rosa, the pink zone.
I have a feeling after those 2 years in Mexico, you were as fluent as Mr. Melbourne, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yes, and I wrote to him and I told him.
Oh, that's
yes,
very
I kept
sweet.
in touch with my teachers. So I went back to Jamaica, and then I went to the University of the West Indies. There again, here comes Dr. Heloise Lewis, a great lecturer there in Spanish, and another black woman. So all these black women and men, they have all with languages like crazy in Jamaica. So I said, wow, I got to get a part of this. So when I got my master's, I wrote to Dr. Heloise Lewis and said, I got my master's. She's older now, but I told her I finally got the doctorate in Spanish and education. I'm just like her because I wanted to be like them. And then I loved Spanish. There was something about the language that I just love. I can't pinpoint what it is, but I would not go to chemistry class. I would prefer to study 100 vocabulary and skip chemistry or math or something and open the back of my book and I'm just doing all the vocabulary at the back.
Wow, and I'm a chemistry teacher, so
oh,
you know,
wow!
That's a good
Hope I didn't offend you.
Words. That's okay, not at all. Because if you're going to skip for something, let it be something like other work.
I really love.
Right,
and the thing is, I really want to pass this on to the children. Well, I don't want to take it with me. It's no use. wherever I'm going to go. It's no use.
You want to be the Mr. Melbourne
yes,
for the next
and
generation.
Dr. Heloise Lewis. And they're getting it because my class is, I stress communication. If you don't know the language, can't communicate, you don't know the language as far as my
and the vocabulary
and the
grammar.
vocabulary.
It'll
you got to
come.
put it, I'm weak, I need to go to the office. Can I go to the bathroom? You have to learn to say those things. You can't just say ALBANY or the bathroom and learn vocabulary in isolation. You get isolation. You need to put it together to make sentences. I'll see you tomorrow. Nos vemos mañana or hasta mañana. Many ways of saying the same thing. So I teach them, and I said to them, the easiest phrase that you can remember, because there are many ways of saying bye.
Right.
Adiós, nos vemos, hasta mañana, hasta pronto, hasta luego, te veo, nos vemos. So they choose the one that resonates mostly with them and know their way of saying goodbye. So
well, before we say goodbye, let's talk about hello.
Hello.
You, in the midst of all that you do, said, I have an idea for a book. Yes. And your book is right here. This is the paperback version of your book. It's The Mask is Off by Dr. Mildred Smith-Chang right here. How did you come to write your book? Okay,
very good. This is, I wrote my book from before I came to teach in Schenectady. It was copyrighted in 2004, so I wrote it from like 1992, in the 90s. But I had it in my basement. I had it in a box there. And I just decided recently to get it out of the basement. But it was copyrighted a long time ago. So anyhow, this was my journey.
Yeah.
The allure. America has an irresistible allure.
Those Mexican mountains had an allure.
Yes, they do.
You went and you touched it, you felt it, you lived it for 2 years, but somehow there was still the draw of America.
There was still, yeah, there's something in that ingrained in that consciousness that this country is beloved in a strange way.
Okay.
Yes. So after I was the head of a Spanish department, as I said to you, and my brother decided to sponsor me here. But he told me what happened is that I thought that when I got here with I got my visa and everything. I came here legally through my visa, my non-immigrant visa. And I thought I was going to get the permanent green card in no time at all. So when I got here, I had the shock that no, it will take you 6 years before you can get that green card.
In spite of your education.
In spite of all the talents and education that I had and the exposure, I could not go into a college or anything to teach without that green card. So I said to him, you know, I was going to go back home, but there's this resilience in me that my father ingrained in me. So when he told me that if you're going to stay here, he can't accommodate me in his house, because if the government knows that he has me here and my visa expired, he's in big trouble. But however, I can go work as a maid in a rich lady's home, and that will be no problem. And I found that very ironical. How could I be in somebody's house working and immigration would not say anything to that person? But if I live with my brother and try to go back to school or do something, then they could deport me and say, but they know I'm working with these rich people, but they leave me there. Nobody bothers them. Nobody say anything.
So the richness of society says, we value you as a domestic in someone's house.
Right.
We'll not pay attention to the fact that you're illegal. But if you try to better yourself or work to the capacity that you already have,
then you're in big trouble. So they make sure you can't go into the schools until you have the green card. But you can do any menial jobs. And you can work off the books. And these people can also threaten you to deport you and call immigration. But immigration won't say anything to my madam. Why do you have this young lady here working for you? They don't say anything. So they always use that over your head when they think you're disobedient, that I'm going to call immigration. But when they do, or when they threaten you, immigration does. So I said, I'm going to write this because it's a story that must be told. So I have The Mask is Off because of the allure of America, the irresistible people's stories, the fantastical stories that you hear, of America, from your own Jamaicans who have been here and returned to the island. What they say, the educational opportunities, the job, the richness of the country. You can become anything you want. Even if you're a Spanish teacher, then you can become the greatest lawyer in no time at all. So this, you know, what would you call it?
And to me, I'm born here. That just seems like that's America. And you've got the look on your face like, how odd. But that
right,
really,
but that really
is how it works.
Yes, so where was I? No, I said that I decided to go and work as a maid. So I worked as a maid for 6 years with all this education and talents and traveling and experience. So that's what the book is. It's the mask is of. Each immigrant and every immigrant, legal or illegal, will recognize a part of themselves in the book, because it peels away. It's a peeling away of a flawed immigration system, exposing a lot of the underbelly, the ambiguity, the double standards of immigration. For instance, I said the amount of profiteers and document vendors and bogus vendors and lawyers who profit from this immigration. So when I heard they talk about sending back immigration, it's more than what people are saying immigration is. It's ambiguous. It's double standard. It depends. I won't give the book away, but it tells you that people are not being told what immigration is. They just hear of illegal, undocumented workers, and they believe a lot of stories they hear. But it's a hidden world of dark politics that scapegoats undocumented immigrants.
Well, think of it. You were a highly educated woman who would have been of value in a different position.
Yes.
And yet here you are working as a domestic in this circumstance in order to stay in the place that you want to be.
And I had to hide the idea that I was educated. I had to play into my boss's hand that I was dumb, because if you show that you're educated, they would say, wow, we could fire her or whatever. She knows more than I do. So I remember once I was going through with my vacuum through the living room, and there comes Jeopardy, and they said, where do the bats live normally? And the word came out, in the belfry. And the lady looked at me, and the little boy said, Josh said, Mommy, how did the maid I didn't know it, but the maid know that the bat's in the belfry. And she said, I don't know it. So she said to me, how did you know it? Are maids this educated in Jamaica? And I said, yes, that's how they are down there, extremely educated. Our maids are fantastic when it comes to education.
Would you like to know about Cervantes now?
Right, but I didn't go there. But I said we're extremely educated there, ma'am.
Well, if any of our viewers want to hear more about your book, they can certainly pick up your book, but I know we have a special occasion coming up as well. Let's see, you are speaking at the Colony Library coming up shortly.
Yes, on December 13th at 6 p.m.
6:30 p.m.
And it's located near the Times Union, and there's a phone number listed there that they can call if they want to hear the discussion on the book.
Right, the actual, like for GPS purposes, the library is at 629 Albany Shaker Road, and the phone number is 518-458-9274. And that again is Thursday night, December 13th, 6:30. Dr. Mildred Smith-Chang, it's wonderful to have you here, and I'd love to read your book and hear more stories.
Yes, wonderful. The book is available at a SUNY bookstore, Barnes & Noble in SUNY, Albany, on the campus. It's available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble countrywide. It's available at exlibris.com, www.exlibris.com. And it's available at the Book House in Stuyvesant Plaza.
Oh, that's good. My favorite bookstore.
Yes, it's available there.
Well, it's a wonderful treat to have you here, and I feel like one of your students today. I have learned so much, and I appreciate you being here.
I'm so happy you had me here, and I thank you so very much for having me here. And I hope people will pick this book up because this is a very divisive and contentious issue.
But
The
it's
issue
so
of
common.
immigration.
It's such a common issue too. So
Yes.
Immigration is a vibrant part of America. And
Yes.
without immigration, we would not be what we are today.
Right, it's a
None
nation
us
of
would be in this
immigrants,
room.
but people don't understand that certain immigrants are not given certain privileges.
Mm-hmm.
They need, it's a deeper, it's much deeper than what we think it is. And there's so many people who profit from it, but nobody speaks of that. And the human smuggling part, which I didn't mention, I'm not talking the human trafficking, is the human smuggling. So when I hear the president or when I hear people say we're going to close the border, I said, when you close the border, which Mexicans are not coming, most the people are coming through Niagara Falls. But when I hear they speak about closing the border, I said, well, I wonder if they're giving permission to the experts, the human smugglers, that these people will go to them. Because human smuggling is now a $20 million industry. So when you close the border, what happened to those people who really want to get here? They go to the experts. So there's a lot to learn from this book about what's going on with immigration, both legal and illegal. So
Well, it's
thank
a
you for having me.
fascinating topic. And again, I'd recommend that that our viewers pick up a copy of the book. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks
It's a
a
pleasure.
million. My pleasure too, Barbara.
You've been watching the Science and Education segment here on Impact. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.
Proctors, bringing the best in arts, education, and entertainment.